So I want to share, I guess, some thoughts on what's been going on the last few days and weeks. First off, like my heart breaks for Charlie and his family. I think we've all said it, like nobody deserves to die like that, in that manner. The shed of innocent blood is always heart wrenching, and I think, yeah, just whether it's the girl that died on the subway, Charlie getting assassinated with a bullet in his neck, all the other atrocities that are going on. Yeah. One thing that I keep coming back to is just this isn't about like ideologies. This is about good versus evil, and this is spiritual. This is more spiritual than it is physical. Physical manifests what the spiritual is happening in the spiritual realm. And, if you still live your life thinking that there's no such thing as the spiritual world, just open your eyes. The darkness that envelops humanity is so much greater than humanity itself. It's demonic. In the same way that greatest of goodness that can come from humanity is heavenly, right? Love, the deepest, most profound forms of love, something that comes straight from God. But the opposite is also true. When I look at some of these manifestos full of demonic imagery, that's just the demonic parading itself out in the open. It's no longer content to conform itself to the darkness. It wants to be out and boast of its actions. And unfortunately, humanity falls victim to these demonic situations and becomes enslaved to the demands of these demonic powers. We believe in the Bible, which I do believe, says that our fight, us as believers in God and Jesus, fight isn't even against flesh, meaning other people, but our fight is against spiritual principalities of darkness and rulers in the unseen world. And I believe that more now, than ever. I've believed it for a long time, but it's never been more evident. We can't pass enough laws or regulate enough to change the human condition from a spiritual perspective. This is a cause of turning away from God, rejecting His very existence. He is the Creator, and when you turn away from the one who is your source of life, who created you and made you with a purpose, you turn away from that. There's nothing but despair and darkness that fills the void and the gap. And we as people, we try to fill it with the things of this world, right? Be it money or drugs or partying or music or whatever, you name it, career, alcohol. Those are all forms of coping. Those are all forms of trying to fill a void. And you'll notice that once you get to that place that you thought would fulfill you, you realize it's quickly on to the next thing. Because it's not enough. It's never enough. That should be an indicator. That should be a red flag that says something wrong here. As much as I try, nothing fulfills this hole, this void that I have. And to the extreme, what ends up filling that void is a demonic possession or sort of spiritual principality of darkness that envelops people so deeply that they act out the atrocities of these demonic forces. And I'm not saying everybody walks around, demon possessed or anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that those things happen and it's getting darker and darker and darker because people are falling farther and farther and farther away from the source, the truth, and especially in a world where truth is relative, that causes so much chaos and confusion. But this is the result, and just it's like they say, the proof is in the pudding. Look around, look at society, look at social media. Yeah, like murder and killing is the extreme, but like you can see it in every other facet of society. Like it's not just in the killing, it's in just society as a whole, right? The breaking down of morals and morality, and I don't know, just all of these things where you say like, what is going on? Like we've lost our minds, we've lost our way. All I can say is that like when you see something like Charlie Kirk, a voice, such a prominent figure, being silenced with a bullet, the only thing that causes is a huge vacuum, which creates a generation of people that will carry the baton forward. You create a martyr, or you create a movement of people who will not shut up ever again. That includes me. Society tends to lull you into just staying in your lane. But the moment you have somebody like a Charlie, who whether you agree with 100% or not, it makes no difference. It's somebody who was willing to speak their mind and be courageous in what they believed in. Not only that, but be bold in their faith and courageous in their faith and say what they believe to be true, regardless of how popular it was at that moment or not. It's unfortunate, at least for me, that it takes something like this to happen for me to feel the need to speak out, but I'm going to do it regardless, whether it's late or not. I think it's time for us to say, you know what, we've got to turn back to Jesus. And we all have our beliefs and everything, and you might tune this out and say, religion is not for me, or maybe you might say like, I'm too far gone. I don't know. Wherever you are, this is not about religion. It has nothing to do. Religion has its place. This is about Jesus and a relationship with Him personally. It's not about knowing Jesus. It's about Him knowing you. He has to know you personally. If He doesn't know you, that's a bad place to be, because Jesus said He's going to come back one day, and regardless of if He comes back in our lifetime or not, we're still going to stand before Him when we pass. So either we stand before Him when we die, or we stand before Him when he comes back. Jesus was either a liar, he was a lunatic, or he was Lord. I think that's something that if you don't believe in him, that's something you have to debate within yourself, because most people are content with saying he was a good person, or he had good ideas or philosophies, or he was a nice man, or maybe he was a prophet, which some people say. The problem with all of those things is he can't be a nice man if he said some of the things that he said, claim to be God. A nice man doesn't claim to be God. Either he was a liar, either he was a lunatic, or he was actually who he said he was. And I see an awakening of people looking around and saying, hold on, wait a minute. Like, I think there's something to this Jesus. And I think it's time for you, if you haven't already, to look into it and message me, call me if you want me to answer questions that you might have. I don't want to, not here to judge or anything. I really do think that he's the only solution to our problem as a human species. And so we've got to start turning back to him, and quickly. I don't know how much time we have left, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And so this is not one of those things we can put off, wait and see. The days that we live in, we desperately got to be sure what's going to happen to us if we die, or if we're no longer here, what's going to happen. I think that's more important than anything else. And if there's any solace that we could take, or at least me, I can take with this Charlie situation, I know where he is. Death is only the beginning for us who believe in Jesus. It's only the beginning. It's not the end. And it's unfortunate that his wife and his children will never be able to see him here on earth again, but one day they will be reunited with him. And there's no greater hope. I think we live in a generation that's so void of hope, and it causes us as a society to turn to these atrocities, believing that that'll be the solution, and even to the extreme, it's most of the time against the will of these people anyway. They're following these demonic voices that are torturing and tormenting them, and only Jesus can set them free from that. If we continue to pretend as a society like Jesus doesn't exist, God is not real, when he's the very fabric and existence of this creation, and then you start to see the craziness and insanity. We blame it on all of these things that are just fruit, but they're not the roots. These are the fruits of a society that's rejected its own creator, and it creates insanity, chaos. I just wanted to share my piece. I don't presume to know it all, but for those of you that know me, I've got friends from all different walks of life and backgrounds. If you follow me and you feel like this is not for you, just skip it or unfollow me, that's fine. I still respect and love you guys, but I will start to share this more and give my thoughts, and my only hope is that I can share a message that'll change hearts. And I think that's where it starts. We have to change hearts. We can change laws and we can do all sorts of things, and all of those things are well and good. We've got to change hearts and minds, and let's start there, because the problem, same thing that's the problem, is not going to be the solution. We are the problem, and so we cannot save ourselves. We are not the solution. We need a savior. We need something outside of ourselves. We need an external force to save us, and without that external force, we're drowning. And so don't put your trust in yourself. You're not going to save yourself. One day you'll stand before God, and it's not going to be about how many good things you did. It's going to be about what you did with the truth of Jesus. That's what it's going to hinge on, because he's the one that did the work, paid the price. And you rejected the fact that he did that, and don't turn to him. That's where I want to intervene and make sure that you're not in that position. So